Hey families, so I'm just going to go over some of our math strategies so that you can be on top of this learning with your kiddos as well. So the first strategy that I want to walk us through is the decomposition strategy. So this works best for any double or triple digit addition. So in this strategy, kiddos are going to break apart numbers into hundreds, tens, and ones, which they know how to do. Then the first thing they do is think which addend is the biggest, because this is what's going to go on their number line first. Then they need to add 257. That's a big number, so they're going to break that 257 into ones, tens, and hundreds. When they do that, we see that there's 2 hundreds or 200, 5 tens, which is the same as 50, and 7 ones. Then they're going to show this on a number line by making jumps of those numbers. So first they're going to make a jump of 200 because there's a 2 in the hundreds place. Then they're going to make a jump of 50 and a jump of 7. This gets them to the number 679. So this means that if I add 422 and 257, my final answer is 679. This is a strategy that kids are really great at using, and this sentence frame here can help them explain exactly what they added. As you're working through your students, you are more than welcome to reference this and ask them to explain how they did their thinking. Then we can use the same or similar strategy for subtraction. So again, we're going to think which number is the biggest and smallest. The biggest one goes on the number line first. This is different than addition because our first number, our minuend, is going to go on the right-hand side. Then they decompose that smaller number into tens and ones. I should say 9 instead of 90. From there, they're going to subtract the tens first. There's a 4 in the tens place, so they're going to subtract 40 from 72, which gets us to 32. Then they're going to subtract the ones. Our final number that we land on is 23. So I can say that 72 minus 49 is 23, and there's a sentence frame that students can fill in as well. This strategy is great to use. It's easy for students to use when numbers are far apart. So if we're thinking in the triple digits, when our numbers are really, really far apart, like a number in the 800s and a number in the 200s, this strategy will just save kids a lot of work instead of trying to jump between the two numbers like you'll see in a later strategy. And this could also be called the removal strategy because we're removing one number from the other. The differencing strategy gets a little bit more complex, and this is best for when numbers are close together. So when I'm using the differencing strategy, I'm trying to find the space between the two numbers. First, I put both numbers on the number line. So this is very different than those decomposition strategies because it doesn't matter which is the biggest and smallest, both of them go on the number line. Then my whole goal is trying to find the difference or the space between the subtrahend, which is our smaller number, and the minuend, which is our biggest. And the kiddos know those words. So they can make a jump to a friendly number or a number that ends in 0. So I made a jump of 3 to get from 157 to 160. From there, I made a jump of 30 and then a jump of 8. There's no real rule for what numbers to make jumps of. You're really thinking about how can I make the least amount of jumps with the most efficient numbers. So in this case, I got to a friendly number that was easy for me to add to. Then I just kept jumping until I got to my final number. Now, I have to add up the value of the jumps. So I added 30 plus 3 plus 8 because those are the jumps or the space between that I added. When I added those together, I get 41. 41 is my difference. So 198 minus 157 is 41 because there's 41 numbers between my minuend and my subtrahend. Here's that quick picture of it again, and this is also posted on Class Dojo. Then to build it up even more, we use the constant difference strategy. When we use constant difference, we're taking the numbers that were already given and we're just adjusting them on the number line to make it a little bit easier. So if I start with that 198, I know that it's just 2 away from 200. 200 is really easy for me to subtract from. So I can add 2 to 198 to get 200. but whatever I add to the minuend, I have to add to the subtrahend. So since I added 2 to my first number, I'm gonna add 2 to my second. Then with my new numbers, I just solve using the differencing strategy. And I can conclude that my final answer of 41 is the difference between 200 and 159, but also 198 and 157. The magic rule for this strategy is that the space between the numbers has to stay the same. So if I added only 1 to 198 and didn't touch 157, the space would not be the same, so this strategy doesn't work. This strategy is great for doing mental math quickly, and it really helps students to build their flexibility with numbers. As they go through the rest of this unit, they'll need to be really familiar with these strategies and be okay doing them on their own. Thank you so much for watching. Please reach out if you have any questions at all.